Shalom. First of all, I'd like to start by giving all praises and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kadash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of GreatMillStone. Salutations to the Archeum doing this work in sincerity and in truth. Alright, my name's Amarth Kwam. You know, Satan trying to put spanners in the works, man. But Lord willing, you know, we're gonna keep pushing this video. You know, and upload it raw. So today's video is going to be based upon an article, alright, and the article is entitled Operation No Deal, Army Plans for Troops on Streets. Alright, the significance of reading this article and going into this topic is because in relation to prophecy, it goes into it highlights, you know, the time that we're living in terms of in Great Britain, you know, coming into the time of Jacob's trouble. Martial law, which is also prophecy, and then race wars. So to start with, I'm gonna read Jeremiah 30:7, which is Jeremiah 30:7. Alas, for the day, that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. All right, and that time of trouble that we're coming into is really the so-called white man coming down upon you so-called Negroes of the UK, because a lot of that London riot, what happened in the UK, if you brothers ain't familiar with it, is that over the shooting of Mark Duggan, a so-called Negro who was shot down by the police, many different boroughs started rioting, all right, and also there was a lot of looting and arson, and that was also majority blamed on you so-called Negroes, all right? You Negroes are associated with all that crime which was committed during those London riots, which, in my opinion, that was a sign of things to come. You know, Esau's devices. Esau basically set up that London riot as a, you know, as just like a test run for the armed police, you know, and so forth, to respond to rioting in the UK. Well, now they've also got this plan, as they said, to run troops onto the UK streets, man. All right, if there's no deal because of this Brexit, all right, which is the exit of Britain from the EU. All right, so yeah, through that we're gonna see a lot more heavier planned intervention and policing, well, military policing of you Negroes, if this actually takes place. Why? Because of what they saw in 2011. And even during that time, you also saw a lot of average civilians who are not police officers taking it upon themselves, you know, really because of racism. A lot of them were racist, but so-called white people, white civilians, were taking it upon themselves to run so-called black people out of their areas when they saw them, under the pretense of protecting the community. All right. So what we expect now is it to be, you know, it's not a distant memory, you know, it's a new thing, a recent thing that happened in 2011. So they're gonna have that in mind and make sure that they're better prepared to deal with the problem, which is you so-called Negroes. So a lot of guys might catch death, you know, and various things. My next scripture is 2nd Esdras 15:15. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Right? So people are not going to be as friendly as they once were because of this Brexit issue. A lot of people are divided over their political opinions and whether to stay in the EU and not to stay in the EU. All right, and people who would be so-called love the world, you're going to find that love the world spirit's going to disappear overnight, especially in the event that troops will be planned to be on the streets of the UK. It says, verse 16, there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. So everyone's spirits is basically going to be adverse to each other, and they're not going to, that level of respect is going to disappear. You know, that so-called mutual respect that, you know, you just want to get to work and go, you know, you're not going to get in anybody's way. Well, pretty much that's going to go out the window. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, right? So people are going to protest and riot just like they did going back to 2011. And that's why the government are trying to prepare themselves for this perceived threat. And mainly the biggest threat is you so-called Negroes, like I said before. And the course of their actions shall stand in their power. All right, so they're really not going to even be concerned with the authorities. It says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. All right, and that's what you call martial law, when the military implement a curfew and so forth, which is also something that I perceive that they will implement if things get out of hand and too many people get, you know, end up dead as a result of this no deal. Because of their pride, their cities shall be troubled, their houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. All right, so what you're looking at is basically that same spirit of 2011 coming back again. It says, man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of a lack of bread and for great tribulation. So pretty much this no deal and the Brexit issue is not going to make anything better. It's going to make things a lot worse for the people who live in Great Britain, all right, or England. And before you know it, people are going to start turning upon each other, you know, and trying to take law into their own hands, which is going to bring rise to those race riots. So I'm going to start reading Daniel's 2 and 40. It says, and the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, which that's talking about the Roman Empire. For as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. All right, and that's basically Great Britain is weak right now. All right, because of this Brexit issue, and you know the EU, you know the European Union, because of this division of Great Britain trying to get out of the EU, it's making their alliance weak. But there shall be in it of strength of iron, for as much as thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay. All right, so the weakness right now is in Great Britain, and Putin could take that to his advantage, which could lead to World War III. All right. From here, I'm going to go to Matthew 12 and 26. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? All right, and Esau's completely divided against himself with that xenophobia, all right, which is basically a hatred for a stranger, or you know, another word for racism. And really, Esau hates himself, man, or prejudice. You know, he don't respect or like these other like-skinned fellow people, you know, namely these Russians, Polish, or anywhere else in the European Union, okay? And scripture tells you they can't stand. Why? Because they're divided against each other in their political opinions, and you know, even locally, you know, different so-called white people despise each other from different areas, you know, north, east, south, and west. So Esau's kingdom's ready to fall because of that division, you know, and division, you know, nationally and division internationally. All right, so from here now, I wanted to just go into the article. In fact, let's get the article.